Well, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin gave a target date for tax reform, August, and that could be a key reason why he's predicting the U.S. economy will see a growth boom, not immediately, but down the road. The person in charge of overhauling the tax code and remaking financial regulations is, as you may well know, a former Goldman Sachs banker. He also led One West Bank, formerly IndyMac, which he bought from the federal government in 2009. Beyond Wall Street, though, he has financed more than 100 Hollywood films. But his current task at the Treasury Department is complex, more than any film could be, and could run into opposition from lawmakers. In a wide-ranging interview today, Secretary Mnuchin told Becky that the White House and both chambers of Congress are all working together. Becky began by asking him about the one issue that investors like you want to know more about: tax reform.
Our economic agenda, the number one issue is growth, and the first most important thing that will impact growth is a tax plan. So we are committed to pass tax reform. It will be very significant. It's going to be focused on middle-income tax cuts, simplification, and making the business tax competitive with the rest of the world, which has been a big problem and a lot of reason why companies are leaving and cash is sitting offshore. So that's really our focus. We want to get this done by the August recess. We've been working closely with the leadership in the House and the Senate, and we're working on a combined plan.
We've already seen regulatory reform start. Do you think that we would see 3% plus GDP by next year?
I think it's going to take time to get there. So I think it would be, more towards the seeing the growth towards the end of next year. I think by the time we pass tax reform, you see the impact on the economy, you see the impact of regulation. It's definitely going to take into next year to see an engine of growth.
Do you agree with the border adjustment tax as something that you think needs to be involved in tax reform?
We're looking closely at the issues on the border adjusted tax. I've spoken extensively with Paul Ryan and with Chairman Brady on this, and we're looking at it. We think there's some very interesting aspects of it. We think there's some concerns about it. We are all committed to do is make sure there is a combined plan that is a plan that is the administration's plan with the support of the House and the Senate, that we're all working together on one plan that gets passed.
Back in November, you said that even if wealthier people get a tax break, it's not going to be that they necessarily are paying less in taxes because the deductions, the loopholes will be closed as a result. Do you stand by that now that you're actually in the administration and in your position as Treasury Secretary?
There's been a lot of comments on that, and I actually think there's a rule. I think during my confirmation it got named the Mnuchin rule. We're primarily focused on a middle-income tax cut and simplification for business. On the high end, if there are tax cuts, that they are offset with reduction of deductions and other things. So it's something we're going to carefully look at.
Fannie and Freddie, it's been a huge issue that people have kind of been swirling around. It's hard to say exactly where the administration stands on it, but you have been committed to housing finance reform. Can you tell us how you come down on that and what sort of time frame we should expect?
I met with Mel Watt this week. We had a very good conversation. I've met with Jeb Henserling. We've talked about the various different issues. So again, I think, as I've said before, I'm committed that under this administration, we're going to have housing reform so that we don't just leave these entities the way they are. They've been sitting there for too long of a period of time, and we need a solution. And we're going to look at this. I think this will be one of the areas where hopefully we will have a bipartisan solution. We have a team internally that we've already assigned. So this is something we're going to study carefully. So I don't think you're going to see something right away from us, whereas tax reform is a near-term issue. But this is definitely on the agenda. We got a lot of things to do here.
It is a long to-do list and one that the market's following very closely. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin says that he will be watching the market's reaction because he sees it as a scorecard reflecting what the public thinks about the administration's efforts so far. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Becky from Washington, D.C.